Welcome back to Odoo for Beginners, our tutorial series to help you to better understand how Odoo works and to help you to interact with your customers a bit better, which is why in this episode we're taking a look at the customer portal that's built in to Odoo. We're going to be having a look in this episode at what the customer portal is, how it works, what the customer has access to and what they can see, and how you control who has access to the portal, and how you can send customers specific links in the portal so that they can access a specific document without being able to access anything else. So let's have a look together. This is Odoo for Beginners. So for this demonstration, we're going to have a look at a very basic Odoo database. We've only got a few apps installed, but it's enough for us to be able to demonstrate how the portal works and how you can use it. Notice we don't have the website module installed. You don't need to have the website module installed to be able to give your customers access to the customer portal. The customer portal operates separately from the website module. So let's have a look, for example, at a customer you might be dealing with in the sales app. This one here, for example, it's in the quotation sent phase. So let's have a look at this. So we've sent this quotation to the customer. In the header bar, you'll notice that we have a preview button. If we click that preview button, you will be able to see what the customer will see if they were to view this document in the customer portal, apart from this blue bar across the top, which is what you can see. Notice it shows all of the details of the order. It gives them an option to sign and pay. We'll come back to that in a moment, to view details. And it also gives you a communication history. This is linked to the chatter of the specific document that you're looking at. So in this case, the specific sales order. So a customer can come in here and they can type in a message and it will be attached as chatter in the sales order document. And anyone that is a follower of that document will get notified that the customer has sent a message. The sign and pay button is specifically for quotations, but this would give a customer an opportunity to confirm an order. So we've put a quote together, we send it to the customer, they have a link to the portal and they can put in their name and digitally sign it either with an auto signature or they can draw it in themselves in Odoo. It's quite straightforward. And then they hit accept and sign, and that will mark the order as confirmed. It will now give them an opportunity to pay. We haven't set any payment methods up in this instance, but for example, if you were using Stripe or one of the other payment providers that are available, Odoo will allow them to now make a payment directly in the Odoo portal. And that might be to take a deposit of a certain percentage of the amount of the order, or they have to pay the full order to be able to confirm it. That all depends on the configuration of your system. But the portal allows the customer to make that payment through Stripe, for example. If they don't do it at this point, they still have a pay now button that they can do. If they use view details, that will give them a PDF download of the particular order if they need that for their records. And there we go. That is what they have access to. If we go back to edit mode, we can see that in the chatter, it shows that the order has been signed by Joel Willis. It's attached a PDF of the quotation at the point that they signed it so that we know what they actually agreed to in case the order changes later, for example. Notice that this one has stayed in the quotation sent phase. If we have a look at the other info on this particular order, it's marked to accept online payment of 100% before it will confirm an order. So because they didn't make a payment via the portal, the order hasn't been confirmed in this situation. So that's a very basic example of what the customer will see for a specific sales order that we have sent to them. But how did the customer gain access to that particular page? How did they know where to go to be able to accept and sign it? Well, there's a few different ways that they may have found that particular quotation. One of them is if we emailed them a link to that specific document, which we may have done when we send it to them. When we hit the send button in the header bar of this particular document, we get the option to send the customer an email. And in the template for this email, when it is sent to the customer, in the header of that email, it will have a button that they can click. I'll show screenshot of an example email so that you can see what it's sent out in this situation. So it has a button to accept and pay the quotation. The link that's attached to that button is what we call a tokenized link. It has an access token in the URL, and the customer can click that to get access to that one single document. They won't have access to anything else in the system. They'll be able to look at that one single document, and then they would be able to accept and pay it as if they were a logged in user. So that's one way that they might be able to gain access to a particular document. The other way is through the portal dashboard. So every Odoo installation has a portal dashboard at your company URL /my. Let's have a look at what that looks like. So here we are on the customer portal. Now, I am logged in as Mitchell admin. He is an administrator in the system. So he has access to more than a customer would have access to, but it's a good example for us to see what it might look like. For example, we have the button here for your invoices. If we click your invoices, it will give us a list of all of the invoices that the user who is logged in has access to. And we can get all the details of all of these. We can see the status, how much is due, the fact that it's waiting for payment, and we have a pay now button right here so that we can go and pay for this particular invoice via whatever payment methods we have set up on the system. At any time, we can go back to the home page and we get back to this particular menu. Notice it also has here the ability to modify addresses. So if the customer has different billing addresses, different shipping addresses via the portal, they can manage those addresses to be able to update our database and tell us that they want us to ship things to a different place or that their billing address has changed. So a very easy way for customers to update their information with us. We also have connection and security. So portal users have a password. They can use two-factor authentication. They can use passkeys if they want, and they can see what sessions they are logged in with, and they can log out of all sessions. So security is possible via the portal as well. And then also documents. We have access all documents. Now again, I'm logged in as an administrator, so it takes me to the documents app and shows me the documents, but a customer would have access to specific documents that we have shared with them or given them access to. So the portal is a very handy way for us to stay in communication with our customer and for our customer to be able to manage what data we hold on them and to be able to review the status of their orders, their invoices, or whatever it is that we're interacting with them on. So that everybody is kept up to date and the database is kept live. So how do we give customers access to the portal? Well, for that, I've added the Contacts app into this database because it's easier to do it there. There are other ways you can do it, but it's easier through the Contacts app. If we open the Contacts app, we can go into, for example, Azure Interior. And in the header bar, we have this little settings cog, the actions cog, and we have an option here for grant portal access. If we click that, it will show us all of the contacts that are child contacts of Azure Interior. We can see them here in the contacts tab behind. So we have Colleen Diaz, Brandon Freeman, Nicole Ford. We have an email address for them. This tick box shows that that email address is being considered valid, and that is the email address that would be used to set up their portal user account. Latest authentication is blank because they've never logged in, but we have here grant access as a button. So, for example, if we want to grant Colleen Diaz access to the portal, we click grant access, and that will send an email to Colleen Diaz at this email address that's been provided with how she can set up her portal account, change her password, and gain access. What that will give her access to is anything that Azure Interior, the parent company, has access to via the portal. Now, that does mean that you have to be a little bit careful who you grant portal access to, because you may not want to grant access to individuals who don't have access to see, for example, the company's invoices or to accept a sales order on behalf of the company. So you don't want to just give portal access to every member of a company that you have as a customer or a supplier. You need to be selective about who you give this access to. If there is an individual that you need to give access to a particular document, then it's better to do that with the sharing links that we looked at earlier. this gives a particular customer or particular contact access to all of the documents for the customer that they work for. So first of all, Colleen Diaz will see an email with activate account to allow her to activate her portal account. When Colleen clicks that link, she will get this screen here, which is to allow her to activate her account. It confirms her name, confirms the email address that she is activating, and it gives her the opportunity to pick a password. Let's pick something very basic for the moment. This is not a public database. She has an option to set up a passkey for this account if she wants to, but for the moment, we're just going to sign up. And straight away, Colleen is moved into the portal so she can see everything that she needs to see. So as we saw before, she has access to the connection and security, so she can manage her password, two-factor authentication, passkeys, etc. She has access to addresses to manage her addresses that are on the system. And she has access to your orders and your invoices, which there's none on there for Azure Interior. But for invoices there are, for example. So these are all invoices that were raised against Azure Interior, not against Colleen as an individual. So Colleen now has access to all of these documents, and she can see the details of the invoice. She can make the payment, she can accept them and sign them if she so wishes. So yes, we do need to be careful who we give portal access to, but actually if we're giving it to the right people, it's a very, very powerful way for customers to be able to interact with the system. Incidentally, now that Colleen has activated her account in Odoo, I, as the user, now get a pop-up to show that she has signed in for the first time. But I can close that. That's the discuss system asking if I want to chat with her because she came online for the first time. One other area where we might want to share something with our customer in the portal is using the Documents app. So we can go into the Documents app, and this gives us all of the documents and things that we have uploaded to Odoo or created in Odoo. So for example, we might be putting together a spreadsheet or some kind of presentation for the customer, and we might want to share that with them. So for example, if I go in and say new spreadsheet, and I create a new spreadsheet, I might start putting together a spreadsheet of some description, not a very useful one, granted. However, I would then have the option to share that, and we can share that with anyone who is a contact in the system. So for example, I could share it with Colleen Diaz, who we just gave portal access to. It gives us the option of choosing a role, either as a viewer or an editor, but Odoo won't allow us to set an external contact as an editor. We can only set internal users of Odoo, so our own employees, our own staff, as an editor. So Colleen will be a viewer in this situation. Notify is, do we want to actually tell the customer that we've given them access to this, and if we want to add any specific comments to that. This is a nice spreadsheet, and we can share it, or we can copy the link and we can paste that into a separate email or a separate chat discussion that we might be having with that person. There we go. This now shows that Colleen Diaz now has access to this document. Let's see what she sees in the portal. So now we can see that Colleen has an extra button in the portal for documents, access all your documents. And if we click that, we will see all of the documents that Colleen has access to. There's the spreadsheet that we gave her access to, and we can have a look at this spreadsheet. We can move around, but it is read-only access. We can't change it. And you'll notice here, this little icon, this little indicator here means that someone else is also accessing this document. We can see up here, Mitchell admin is accessing this document as well. This is live interaction. So as Mitchell admin is modifying this spreadsheet, then Colleen will be able to see those changes live while they are being changed. A very, very powerful way for us to be able to interact with our customers, to be able to show them information, present information to them, and we can edit it on the fly and the customer will be updated. A very, very powerful tool from Odoo. So there we go. That is an introduction to the portal system in Odoo version 19. What do you think? Do you think that that is something that you're likely to make use of? It's going to be something that could be very powerful for interacting with your customers. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we look forward to seeing you again in our next video.